just got to the Byron event here in Lake City. Apparently there are protesters outside just waiting around for Byron to show up. But yeah, hopefully let's go in. Hopefully not get bothered. And let's see what, this event is all about. See you guys in there.
We want to welcome everybody here. We appreciate the warm welcome outside the event. So thank you all for coming today. We're going to open up with a quick prayer and then our Pledge of Allegiance. So just to give you a quick, I'm Kyle Keene. I'm the tax collector for Columbia County. I got a call a couple of days ago asking if I would be interested in doing the pledge. The prayer. I said, I'm honored to do it. I said, but are you sure you want the tax collector doing the prayer? I said, because the Bible and the tax collectors, we don't get along very well, but they assured me that the fire department's on standby, so we're good to go. So if I can have everybody bow your heads, please, while we say the prayer. Heavenly Father, we come before you today with grateful hearts, thankful for the many blessings you have poured upon our nation, our state, our communities, and our families. Lord, we ask for your presence at this gathering and for your guidance over every person here. We pray for wisdom, sound judgment, and humility for those who seek to lead and those who have been entrusted with positions of responsibility. Your word tells us that all authority comes from you, and we ask that every decision be made with integrity, courage, and a servant's heart. Today we lift up Byron Donalds and his family, grant him strength for the journey ahead, clarity of vision, steadfast faith, and the wisdom to lead with conviction and compassion. Surround him with trusted counsel and protect him from discouragement and division. We pray for our community, Columbia County, and for the great state of Florida. Bless our citizens, our schools, our first responders, our military families, and all those who work each day to make our communities stronger. Help us to seek what unites us, to respect one another, and to work together for the common good. Lord, remind us that true leadership begins with service. May we always seek justice, extend grace, defend freedom, and honor the values that have made our state and nation strong. As we begin this event, we ask for your blessing upon our conversations, our efforts, and our future. May everything said and done today bring honor to you. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. Amen. And so I'm going to welcome Miss Sophie, sorry, to say the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good job. Now I have a real honor to introduce our next guest, who is a proven conservative. She's taken on her own colleagues to rein in government overreach. She's a hawk on wasteful Washington spending, and she's leading the charge for America's energy independence. And one of my favorite Gators. Please welcome Congressman Kat Cammack.
Hi, friends. Good afternoon. I know it is hot as hell out there. Man, but I am so grateful to be home. I got on a plane out of DC this morning, and I have never felt better landing in 100-degree heat. I am really, really excited, not just to be home, but to actually get the chance to introduce one of my phenomenal colleagues that I get the honor and privilege of serving with, but truly a friend. He is my congressional best friend. And we are always conspiring with ways that we can actually fix the swamp, drain the swamp, and put America first. And so I get the distinct privilege, thank you. I get the distinct privilege today of introducing our next governor, Byron Donalds. we started out in Congress together, and we went through freshman orientation, which is a bit of an oxymoron because it's the swamp telling you how to swamp, and of course I want to drain the dang thing, and so I'm like, I'm not going to listen to anything these people say. And Byron had the same mindset, but you're kind of scoping everybody out, right? And you're like, that one's smart, that one's, well, bless their heart, you know. You're kind of going through the whole deal, and Byron and I, we kind of started eyeballing each other like, are we gonna get along, or are we gonna be competitors? Is this gonna be something where we fight together or we fight against each other? And I remember on day one, we went into the back of the chamber, we sat down, and for about an hour, we talked about all the things that we wanted to get done. And within the first 10 minutes, I knew that this was a guy who I wanted to fight with. Hi. This is so cool coming home, honestly, because I look around the room and I see people that actually have been with me for so many years. Lane and Chris were at my wedding. Yeah. Did you know that Lane can do the worm?
I was going to ask if Kat actually behaved herself on her own wedding.
No, that's not a chance.
I already knew the answer.
You already knew. But we start having this conversation, and we start figuring out that, okay, not only are we gonna dominate, but we're gonna work together to make sure that we do everything possible to put America first. And there are people who talk a good talk, but then there's people who actually do the hard work when there's no cameras around, when there's no Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or TikTok, nothing to be gained. It's those moments behind the scenes when you really get to see someone's character. And there have been so many times where we have been at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, midnight, in the speaker's office, arguing, fighting, sleeves rolled up. And that's when you really get to see what people are made of. Because I can't tell you how many people we have served with over the years where they'll get in front of a TV camera and they're breathing fire. They're ready to burn it down. They get behind a closed door and they're like, whew. I don't actually believe that, but you know, I have to say that. They say things like that. You'll never, ever, ever, ever find an occasion where Byron was that person. He was always thinking of ways that he could make it better, make it more conservative, spend less money, bring down the size and scope of government, figure out ways to drain the swamp. And let me tell you, when you're doing that, you don't become very popular. But that's okay, because he didn't run for Congress to be popular. Just like if the knuckleheads outside are any indication, interrupting a prayer are anything that we should pay attention to, which we shouldn't. There's people who don't want to see him succeed because he's doing the right thing. Doing the right thing isn't always popular. Whether it's in Washington or Tallahassee, it can be really tough. And that's why I'm excited, because he's battle tested. He knows how to fight, and more importantly, how to win. And he is going to be our next governor. And I couldn't be more proud to stand here in Mason City, Columbia County, and introduce to you, my friends, the next governor of the free state of Florida, Byron Donalds.
First of all, that came in hot. First of all, Kat, thank you so much. Columbia County, you have a great, great member of Congress. I remember those days in orientation. Let me just tell you, 6 years ago, you chose well. You really, really did. Because you really did. What'd you have, Kat? Like 9 people running against you or something? 12. Oh yeah, all right. 12. Long time ago. But look, I get it. Primaries are a very interesting thing. Everybody's saying they're conservative. Everybody's saying they're gonna fight for you. Everybody's knocking on doors. Everybody's sending mail. Some people use bullhorns, okay? But it's when you're in those rooms that you know who's a true fighter and who's not. And I've seen your Congresswoman in those rooms, because I've been in those rooms, actually fighting for conservatism, fighting for liberty, fighting for the United States to actually do its job on behalf of the people of this great nation. And you have a fighter in Congresswoman Kat Cammack. right, so I'm gonna deviate a little bit. You know, you're shocked that I'm deviating. Let's just lay out a couple of things. We're coming down the road, teams in the car, they're saying, hey, this is happening outside, what do we do? Let me give you a window into how I look at these things. They say, we could do this, we could do this, we could do this. Sir, what's the game plan? Full speed ahead, let's go. I am not going to be intimidated by anybody, especially somebody who wears high-heeled boots in a skinny suit with a bullhorn. And let me explain to you why. When we had encampments all across this country, and they were intimidating Jewish students, the radical left, and they were using and fomenting anti-Semitism all across this country. When the students at George Washington University, when their entire quad was taken over and they were being intimidated from being able just to go to class and study for their finals, these are just students. They happen to be Jewish, and they were being intimidated on America's college campuses. When members of the Oversight Committee, which I'm on, and we went over to GW to figure out what was going on and how we could help, the president said, there's nothing we can do. I said, they are trespassing. Arrest them and remove them. She said the mayor of DC won't actually work with us to process them. And I said that you just keep arresting them and you keep turning them over, and if they come back, you just do it again. She was like, yeah, but you know, we only have but so many resources. And so we actually went up, they had a press conference at the encampment. In some respects, Kat, not too dissimilar with what was going on about 5 minutes ago. And we go up and we see where the podium is, where the members of Congress are supposed to stand. And this is when we're at the mics and we're supposed to stand firm and stand for an end to anti-Semitism on our college campuses. And I look at the encampment and I look at James Comer, who's the chair of the Oversight Committee. And I said to him, we need to go through this encampment. And they go, what? And I said, we need to go through the encampment. And that is exactly what we did. Capitol Police looked at each other like, oh boy, here we go. There's a photo of me with my sunglasses on, walking through the encampment unbothered. Because the right thing to do is to stand up to ignorance and bigotry and anti-Semitism. Our party was founded to abolish slavery. That is the basis of the Republican Party. So let me just be very clear. As your next governor, I am never going to be intimidated by the radical left, by the insane left, policies that would undermine the state of Florida, ideas that would undermine Western civilization or the United States Constitution. Because in politics, I've sacrificed a lot of time being away from my wife, being away from my sons, but that sacrifice is all worth it, because the purpose of being a leader is to make sure that the greatest nation man has ever known continues to be the greatest nation that man has ever known. I remember going through this encampment, and then you see all these people who are paid protesters, basically, AstroTurf, by the radical left billionaires and their front groups to intimidate Americans and to intimidate people who believe in common sense. And they wear their keffiyehs and they yell all kind of loud, and they got bullhorns too, and they get into your face. I remember this one kid walked up to me and he had the keffiyeh on, the same thing that the radical Islamists wear, and he's trying to debate me. And I said to him, you want to debate me? Take your mask off and debate like a man. Take it off and let's go. He walks away. You had some professor at George Washington University who tried to call me a traitor to my race. And I looked at him, and then once I locked eyes with him, and he could see I wasn't playing, he slowly started backing up and walking away. As we're moving through the encampment, there was a voice over my shoulder. And it's a voice, and it sounds like it's coming from about Kat's height level. Sorry, Kat, but you there and I got to use you. It's okay. I got to tell a story. We're storytelling. And all I hear is this voice over my left shoulder saying, get off my campus, you don't belong here. I'm in the middle of the encampment. I'm like, what? Who is that? And it's a young Jewish student. And he saw me and other members walking through that encampment to show these people that we are not going to be intimidated. You're not going to take over our institutions. You're not going to unwind what has made America the greatest thing ever just because you want to be loud. And it actually empowered that young man to come out and stand firm for what is right. So when I'm running for governor, let's just be very clear. These are not speeches. These are facts. There's times when you're doing the right thing, you just have to stand alone. And everybody in this room knows what I'm talking about. And I'm telling you, as your next governor, we are always going to do the right thing on behalf of the people of Florida. Because we're the very best state in all of America, and that will not change. I remember another story. This is before Fox News, before interviews, before name ID, before I was even in Congress. It's when I was a freshman in the Florida legislature. It was the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shooting that happened in Broward County. And in Tallahassee came a bill for school safety. But in that bill was gun control. Now mind you, Republican leadership top to bottom in Tallahassee was for that bill. They actually were for it, and their argument was, well, we're protecting schools. But in that bill was gun control, a violation of our Second Amendment, which we all hold dear. Let me be also clear. There's somebody else running for governor who was in the chamber at the same time I was. And when it came time to stand for our Second Amendment and protect our Second Amendment, even if it means standing against our own party, that person stood with the party and not the Constitution. And this is long before campaigns. This is long before any of us had any real authority in politics. I was one of 14 Republicans that said no to Republican leadership, but said yes to your constitutional rights. I represented Hendry County, Florida at the time, Clewiston, LaBelle, Montoura. I represented Eastern Collier County, Immokalee, Golden Gate Estates. And when I went home, the people of my district, they said to me, they said, you know, Byron, we thought you were gonna vote for that bill and not defend our rights. We were pleasantly surprised to realize that you stayed committed to what you told us you were gonna do. And I told them, I made a commitment that I would never betray the Constitution and I would never betray your rights. And I don't care what bills they veto, and I don't care what budget items I have that they zero out. Shall not be infringed means shall not be infringed. So it's funny today, listen, I have the endorsement of President Trump to be Florida's next governor. I have the endorsement of Senator Scott to be Florida's next governor. 40 of our sheriffs, 17 of our members of Congress, 80% of the legislature. We can go on and on through endorsements. That's all fine, well, and good. But everybody talking about it has never been in the political fire like I've been in the political fire. They have either served with one of the great conservative governors in America's history in Ron DeSantis, and he's to be commended for his leadership of our state, because he's been a great governor of our state. But let me lay something else, and Kat will attest to this. It's easy to be conservative when Ron DeSantis is governor. It's easy, because all you have to do is agree with him. You know when it's not easy to be conservative? When Republican leadership doesn't want to be conservative. And then you find out for real who's in the game and who's in the fight, and like Kat said at the top, who comes to the podium and says they are, but then go back behind closed doors and they're not fighting at all. Folks, I came into politics in the Tea Party movement. 2009. I think everybody knows, yes, I'm a black man. Isn't that shocking?
Why didn't you tell me?
Did you just find this out? In 2009, to be honest, there weren't a lot of minorities who were looking to be in the conservative movement. But I chose to be a conservative. Because when you look at the policies that have made our nation great, when you look at the policies that have made Florida the envy of the other 49 states, it is conservative policy that has led us to where we are. Like a lot of people today, but this was before this really started happening. Back in 2009, I was losing friends. I was losing family members who didn't want to talk to me because they would say, how could you support these Republicans and these conservatives? How could you do that? And I said to them, it's very simple, because they're right. And if you're gonna have a society that respects the individual merit of all people and allows young kids to build this American dream for themselves, it has to be based on common sense, conservative policy. Every other thing that they like to throw on the walls and say is gonna work doesn't. I guess the kids out back, they call it slop today. All the slop on social media is just that, slop. At the end of the day, it is about tried and true principles and policies that have made us the great foundation and the great nation that we are. I just want to assure you here in Mason City, by the way, I get to tell my son Mason that I was in his city. He's 15. I'm like, I'm gonna get home tonight. I'm like, hey, I was in your city today. He was like, what? It's Mason City. But I'm here to assure you, Florida will remain the conservative bastion of America. Florida will remain the free state of Florida. So here's what we're gonna do. That was fun, actually.
I know, I kind of want to do that.
You know, I know, right? The team is like, what? Listen, when you see stuff like that out back, you know, the number one thing you wanna do, just slow down. Slow down. Because no matter how loud they get, when they realize that you're as cool as the other side of the pillow, they just realize they're not even that effective anymore. Ladies and gentlemen of Mason City, Florida, Columbia County, Kat knows this. I'm the coolest member on Capitol Hill for a reason. It's true, Kat. You know it and I know it. Yes, it is.
He's a nerd.
I'm a nerd too. I am. But you can't be unbothered and you can't be rattled, in the face of foolishness. You have to be unbothered in the face of foolishness. Because you have to be able to walk through a sea of stupidity and be able to come in and still make the decisions and communicate those decisions that matter to everybody in our state. So what I want to do is I want to open up the floor and I'll answer whatever questions you got. Yes, ma'am, all the way in the back. How are you? Hold on, wait. They're going to bring a mic to you now. Slow down. Everybody wants to hear your question, including me.
I'm just real concerned why one of the stumbling block, the SAVE Act, has not been passed. Why? Because without our elections being legit, what do we got? We got nothing.
The stumbling block, number one, are Senate Democrats who do not want voter ID and do not want to verify that only Americans are voting in our elections. Everybody in our country wants the Save America Act except elected Democrats. And the reason why is they like to misuse our systems in order to maintain or grow political power. The second group that is responsible, and Kat, I'm gonna comment. The second group that's responsible are about 10 Senate Republicans who still believe that protecting the Senate filibuster is more important than saving the United States of America. And as far as I'm concerned, those 10 senators, and they know who they are, time for them to go home and be replaced by somebody else.
he knows I get very worked up about this because the Senate, that's a bunch of chicken shit politicians up there. And I about had enough of it. You can help us though, because I hear often from people on the other side, and even in the House, well, it's not necessary, you know, we don't have non-citizens voting, we don't, you know, that doesn't work. I'm like, no, we know the truth. 19 states across this country issue driver's licenses to illegals. 19. And of those 19, 15 of those states, they do automatic voter registration when you get a driver's license. So when they say it's not a problem, they can prove that it's truly not a problem by voting for the Save America Act, because our elections are too important and our republic depends on it. So help us with that.
Last thing I'll say on it, and I'm gonna come to you, man. Last thing I'm saying on it, to the governor's credit and the legislature's credit, they passed Florida's version of the Save America Act. So once again, Florida is leading the way when it comes to election integrity, election security. And I know there's disagreements about all the things that happen in supervisor of elections, but let me just be clear. Taking it from the viewpoint that Kat and I have being in Washington, D.C., Florida's election systems are second to none in the country. We have by far the best election system. It's the reason why the state of Georgia looked at what we did and basically copied Florida's model into Georgia. And it's actually been to the betterment of Georgia as well. Yes, ma'am.
Hi. We have a lot of influx of people coming to Florida now. And they're coming with their views, how they want to vote. What are you going to do to protect Florida from these big data centers sucking up all of our water in the state?
All right, can I break apart the question real quick? Let me talk data centers and I'm gonna talk to people who come, okay? A couple of things. First, a couple weeks ago, the governor signed into law a piece of legislation which is critical. Number one, it prevents a data center from raising the utility rates on any Floridian. That is Florida law right now. The governor just signed it. The second part of that bill requires any data center that is to be built in Florida to get a consumptive use permit from the Water Management District. So they can't even go to a local utility and cut some deal with a local utility. Water Management has to approve their use permit. The Water Management District approves use permits for golf courses, for industrial facilities that use water, even for bottling companies who bottle water out of Florida's aquifer. They have to get a water use permit from Water Management. What Florida needs to do with respect to our key resources, especially our water resources, we need a 50-year plan for fresh, potable water for the future of our state. Not just looking at what it is today, but how do we make sure as the state grows that we have the fresh water we need into the future. That's gonna be critical for the future of our state. We wanna make sure we have that happen. Number two, and this is most important. Some of the new designs in these centers do not use the amount of water that the old data center designs did in Northern Virginia. Those data centers do suck 1 million gallons a day out of the aquifer. The new designs today use significantly less. Another thing is, I think we should go a little bit further. We should require them to have water treatment facilities on site, so they actually are cleaning the water that they're using and create a closed-looped cooling system, think like your car radiator, so that you have an internal system that they're recycling that water to use in that plant that protects Florida's aquifer and protects our water for the future of our state. Now, to people who come, look, I wish we could build a wall, but we can't. You know, the US Constitution, it is a thing. But when I was in the Villages 3 months ago, I was there with a World War II vet. And he said, Byron, you tell people when they buy a house here, they're just not buying for sunshine and beaches. They're buying a way of life. And one of the things we have seen from COVID, when we had so many people coming here, and I'll admit it, I was kind of freaked out too, like, man, all these New Yorkers are coming down. What are they gonna do to Florida? I know exactly how you feel. I felt the same way. But here's what I found. The people who are fleeing Illinois, fleeing New York, fleeing New Jersey, fleeing California, you know why they're leaving? Because they watch their states be destroyed from within. And they don't want any part of that. This is why Florida has a 1.5 million voter advantage of Republicans over Democrats in our state. And a decade ago, we were at a deficit to Democrats. Because they want common sense too. People are buying in not just to Florida, they're buying into the Florida way of life. They are buying into the Florida dream. Now listen, it's a free country, you can come here, but rest assured, we are not changing how we do our business in our state. Law and order will always be the standard. If there's some state attorney that does not enforce the law, they will be removed from office. Period. Period. Because there is a standard here. And look, I'm 47. I came here 30 years ago with nothing. Got off a bus, Greyhound, Tallahassee, Florida. That was 30 years ago. I'm 47 today. When I'm 77, I still want the state to be great. Like, I live here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not like some of our colleagues, a lot of them in the Senate, where they're not making any decisions, but I mean, let's just be very clear. Some of them, the second they leave, they on death's door. And I hate to say it, but that's true. So they're not thinking about the future. My time as governor will have come and gone, and I will still live in this state. I want this state to continue to be number one. My wife wants her kids to raise their kids in this state. So every husband in the room, you already know how that goes. When your wife wants something done, and you're gonna stay married, I've been married 23 years, so we're not at that stage. She wants something done, every good husband knows you just go ahead and do it. Don't worry about it. All right, where we at? I know I'm getting a hook, but I'm the boss, so I get to go into overtime. All right, we're gonna go to the young lady here, we're gonna go to the man right there, and then we're gonna take the last question from that hand all the way in the back. So young lady, man in the glasses, all the way in the back. By the way, it's really cool to be the boss. Because everyone around be like, we gotta cut it. And I'm like, yeah, that's nice, we're not cutting it.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. So I've been taking a close look at the governor's race, and this is just a very genuine question. I wanted to know, would you be open to debating with James Fishback? Is there any possibility that you'll debate with him at some time, some point?
This is a great question. I'm glad you asked it. Let's unpack this. The Republican Party of Florida was sanctioning a debate for governor. They told all the candidates, including the guy with the bullhorn, that there were criteria you had to meet. They were all told months ago. They were told you have to be at 10% in the polls. They were told you have to raise $10 million. And they said you have to have 10,000 donors. Let me explain why. Florida has 23.5 million people. We have 7 media markets. If you're going to win in August or November, you have to have resources to campaign, and you have to have some basis of support. He didn't meet the criteria. And quite frankly, none of them did. So let's expand on this. In our state, we believe in merit and competition, right? I mean, do we or don't we? Yes. Well, a competition is not a charity. It's not my responsibility to help you get in front of the voters of Florida. That's your responsibility as a candidate. So now what we have is a situation where the guy in the back with the megaphone and these other guys want me to platform them, and let's be very clear, that's what they want. They want me to platform them so they have an opportunity to talk to the voters. They've had that opportunity for a year. Anybody who's been on social media has seen the guy with the megaphone in the back. They've all had their chances and their opportunity to make a real campaign, and they didn't get it done. In short, they did not earn it. In Florida, we don't believe in DEI. But now we got a guy in the back who wants DEI. Do you know why? Because when everybody hears him, they realize he's foolish. A lot of his ideas are actually from the left. We're not leftists in the Republican Party. And so my attitude is very simple. If your campaign rises and you're a credible campaign that can win, sure, I'll debate you. I don't really care. I'll debate anybody, anytime, any place, anywhere. But you gotta be able to compete. I'm not going to elevate you. And I think this is the thing that people need to understand. Look, I was in business 17 years. If I'm trying to earn a client, if I'm out there prospecting and I want to earn your business, I don't go to my rival businesses and say, hey, I have this meeting with this potential client. Let me set up a meeting for you too. Seriously, is that what we do in the real world? We don't do that. Campaigns are no different. There are no participation trophies in politics. You have to earn in your own campaign the ability for the voters to say, you know what? I like you and I want to support you. And if you have enough people that demonstrate that, then you earn your way onto the debate stage. Let's be real specific about the race of governor right now. All the polling, all of it. At a minimum, I'm at 40% in the polls. Most of them have me at 50 or 55%. The guy in the back is in single digits. The other two guys are in single digits. I'm beating them by 40 points. So please, in all honesty, they have an opportunity to go campaign. You already see what's happening back there. The only way he's getting attention is to come to my event and have a bullhorn in the back so he can post it on social media so he can get attention, so the press will take it and write an article. That's not how you campaign and earn support from the people of Florida. That's how you create a shtick and try to get attention. That's not how you govern our state. You do it by going community by community and earning support. He didn't do that. So why would I elevate somebody who hasn't proven they can do that on their own?
James Fishback is actually making more counties in this race than you have.
James Fishback doesn't have a job. I do. Let's be very clear. Hold on, wait a minute. I'm gonna come to you. You did jump out of order, but I'm gonna come to you because you did. One, he doesn't have a job. I am in Congress 4 days a week. If I didn't have a job, I would have probably been to all 67 counties too. But I have a responsibility to represent Southwest Florida in Congress, and I take that responsibility seriously. So if his claim to fame is I've been to all the counties, well, apparently you've done a very bad job because you don't have support. That's number one.
Was Ron DeSantis a valid campaign in 2018?
Ron DeSantis, hold on, and I want to be very clear on that one. Governor DeSantis would have qualified for the debates under the Republican Party of Florida's criteria. We went back and checked. At this time in 2018, the governor was polling at a minimum of 16%. He had already raised $16 million and had 19,000 donors. So Governor DeSantis at this point in 2018 would have fully qualified. And by the way, I was on the debate team for Governor DeSantis in 2018. It was myself, Matt Gaetz, and Richard Corcoran. We were the debate team for Governor DeSantis. So listen, I understand his position, I do. But you have to earn it. There are 9 Republicans who have qualified to run for governor, 9. Most people have only heard of 4. What about the other 5? If that's the position we're gonna play, then all those guys should go debate. Give Bobby Williams a chance to debate Fishback or some of those other people. Go ahead. And if somebody bubbles up and they start earning support, then we'll sit down and do it. But in politics, just like in life, you have to earn your position. It's just not given to you. And if you think the pathway is just to antagonize somebody to give you the attention you seek, you will learn very fast in life, forget politics, in life, that most people are just going to tune you out. They're not going to want to deal with you.
For the seniors, it seems like seniors are paying more out of pocket, more co-pays, getting less services in Medicare. From Congress, are they really working as hard as they should to protect the health care for people?
The short answer.
What will you do as governor of the state of Florida, as our next governor, to work on that and make sure that our seniors get the benefits they truly deserve?
The short answer in Washington is no. And one of the core reasons, and this is the reason why I think it's time to end the Senate filibuster, because you're never going to get the Democrats to vote to do what is necessary to protect the future of Medicare. The Democrats have been raiding Medicare for their other pet projects they've been trying to do around the country for quite some time. And so what is necessary today is that Congress gets serious about extending the life of Medicare. It goes insolvent in 6 years, 7 years now, it goes insolvent. We have a responsibility to fix it. As governor, I'm going to be working with Kat and the members of the congressional delegation on both sides of the political aisle, because we have to make sure that seniors in Florida are protected. And there's ways to fix Medicare, but you gotta be serious and eyes wide open. And unfortunately, our Democratic colleagues do not wanna look at the fiscal reality of these programs and do what's right to fix them. They would rather play politics. Everybody remember the Paul Ryan commercial from years ago when they had him with with a fake old lady throwing grandma off the cliff to get everybody upset? Oh my gosh, what are they doing? If we actually put in the reforms that Paul Ryan wanted to do years ago, Medicare would be in significantly better position today. But the Democrats refuse to do it because, I want to be very honest, they want the programs to implode. That's what they want. That's why they don't want to fix them. They want them to implode so that they get to come and say, it's all the Republicans and the greedy insurance companies and the greedy hospitals' fault. We need universal care. Because that's what they always want. The reason why the health insurance policies for Floridians are going through the roof, deductibles and premiums are skyrocketing, is because Obamacare was designed. Its design was to increase the cost of care in the United States so that when it exploded, those same Democrats would come back and say, we tried to work with the private sector, it doesn't work, we need universal health care. And unfortunately in America, we already have universal health care. It's called the VA. Ask our veterans how universal health care works in the United States. It doesn't, or it's very, very slow. And don't get me wrong, we have stories from veterans where the VA took care of them and did great things. I don't want to diminish those stories, but if you look at the system as a whole, it is not working. It is very flawed. So the path forward, in my opinion, you're going to have to break the filibuster, and Republicans are going to have to grow up on Capitol Hill. Not you, Kat. In the Senate, they're going to have to grow up and realize it is now time to put America and our people first. Not Senate procedure, not the get-along gang in these rooms on Capitol Hill. Get the job done, and you will be rewarded by the American people with political support.
I'm going to steal this mic for a second. Your point is well taken, because we don't have a healthcare system in this country, we have a sick care system. And the entire system, to my colleague's point, is designed to fail. Because the agenda of the left has always been dependency and control and growing the size of government so that they, the big government advocates like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, they get to stay in charge. They want the system to fail. They want it to be insolvent. And that is why we have a system where everyone gets sick and everyone has a chronic condition, because it's designed for maintenance of chronic conditions, not prevention of them. And I will tell you candidly, and I swear if something ever happens to me, it was United Healthcare. They want me gone. The insurance companies are criminal. They are criminal. I have not seen an insurance company yet that has been better for a patient and a doctor than what we had pre-Obamacare. And I think that this right here, what we're talking about, the real issues about how we make people's lives better. One, you get government out of the way. You mentioned the VA. The VA, it works for some people, it doesn't work for others. But if they want universal health care, guys, the post office, do we think that the same people who run the post office should be running our health care? That's a disaster. That would be a disaster. And so this different dynamic that we're aiming to do, which through the working families tax cut that we signed on July 4th last year, I did 37 hours of markup. That was a long couple days. It was a huge package that ended up having a ton of different reforms and tax cuts in it. One of the things that happened in it is we did a historic investment into rural healthcare, $50 billion. $50 billion. And then we fought to get Florida $209 million of that. The reason why I point that out is because as governor, he is going to be in charge of dispersing that $209 million. My goal is to fight for less big government and push as much of it to the state as possible, because I believe that the state, particularly Florida, can do this better than the feds. And that's what we're fighting for.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we're doing it. I know the time. I know the clock.
I don't listen.
I know where we're going next. We're gonna make it work, I know.
Can't say no to y'all.
I'm from Suwannee County.
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Good. Most of the water that gets taken out of our aquifer goes to Jacksonville. They want to send their treated wastewater to us to fill up the aquifer. Why can't they just build a desalination plant in Jacksonville so they get their water from there instead of from us? And one more thing, the filibuster should go back to the talking filibuster when the talking's done, vote.
I totally agree. It should be a talking filibuster. If you want to own the room and own the floor and do the debates, but they don't do that. That's because I don't want to bag too much on senators. I've been doing that enough. Specific to the situation between Duval County and Suwannee County and all parts in between. Here's the deal. Number one, we got to really figure out how we're going to deal with discharges. The problem with desalination, and it does work initially, but what happens is the brine. When the brine gets kicked out, the salinity levels in that area increase, and fishes and your fisheries and your marine life can't live in that heavy of assaulted area. So desalination would work for probably 5 to 7 years, and then after that, there would be some marine life issues associated with it. They're starting to talk about how you harvest the salt out of the brine so the salinity doesn't increase, but we're still a little bit of ways from that. Let's talk wastewater treatment overall. We need to update all of our wastewater treatment facilities in the state of Florida. Most of them are outdated. They're not prepared for the amount of load, no pun intended, that wastewater treatment has to deal with today. And so you have to, well, I guess the pun is intended. But we have to actually modernize these systems. There are 3 advanced wastewater treatment facilities in the state of Florida. One of them is in Altamont Springs. The one in Altamont Springs now cleans water to medical grade water. Medical grade. Now, nobody wants to drink that, but then use that water for irrigation. Use that water if a data center comes through. Use it there, because then it's treated water, high level quality water that can be used for other purposes. It's just that, people don't want to drink it. One of the things we also have to think about when we expand the wastewater facilities in our state and modernize them is what happens with highly treated, relatively clean water from a chemistry standpoint. I think those waters should then possibly be returned into some of our water recharge areas. So after you go through the technological process of treating that water, we then return to what Mother Nature already intended. That water then seeps through your normal natural filtration, and that becomes a natural part of recharging aquifers. The aquifer recharge situation is going to be a major issue for the future of our state. That's why I say we need a 50-year plan for water in our state. It's not just for the 23.5 million people today, it's for the potential 30 million people in Florida's future. We have to plan for that. Modernizing our treatment plants is the first step. We need to look at rainwater capture in our state. We don't really do that. We do more floodplain management, and that's fine, and it's worked for Florida, but we get a lot of rainwater. She's leaning on me. She means I got to wrap now, for real. But we get a lot of rainwater, and we need to figure out how we're going to capture that water, use that for fresh potable water as well. Last thing we want to see is have these intra-state fights over water. I know they've already started. Part of the reason is that there is not a consistent plan from the state's perspective about how we manage the water usage all across the state. We want to bring that strategy to Florida, because if you do it around water, power, and transportation, then you're maintaining the quality of life in Florida while preparing for future growth in Florida. Let me be very clear. I live in Southwest Florida. We're about to go through the completion of Everglades restoration. A lot of my environmentalists in my district wanted to see the Everglades return to what it used to be. The truth is, if you return the Everglades to what it used to be, there would be no more Palm Beach County and Broward County as we know it today. And there will be a very limited Miami-Dade County from what it is today. You can't go back to yesterday in life. I know what people promise, but we call those people charlatans. For you young kids, con men. You can't go back to yesterday. What you can do is plan for your future. And I believe that Florida has to have detailed plans for its future. And the next governor of Florida has to have detailed plans for the future of our state, so that in 30 years' time, when I'm now a has-been in politics, and I'm 77 years old and I'm long and gone, we remain the very best state and still a very beautiful state with a great environment for future generations like the young kids who are with us here today. Thank you guys. Thank you, Mason City.
I know that our teams are pushing and pulling, and there's a very limited amount of time. Before we do a handful of photos, and we will have to be very quick with it, I want to say thank you to the Columbia County Sheriff's Office. Thank you to Sheriff Kitchens, and I see former Sheriff Mark Hunter here in the room. Thank you guys so much for everything that you guys do. Columbia County Sheriff's Office, we love you. There's also, of course, some fabulous volunteers in the room. One of Columbia County's only sons, well, original sons, Mr. Seth Grubbs. I see you in the back. Thank you, and your entire crew of volunteers. We're so, stop with the Knowles stuff. Go Gators. Thank you. Go Gators. Go Gators, right? Whose side are you on? So I know we have time for a few photos, just to make this as productive and efficient as possible. Byron's going to move this podium. If you want a photo, come through right here. The team is going to escort you, and then you're going to go out that way. So thank you guys so much. Appreciate you.
It was a really good event. I loved it. I think Byron handled it really well. But anyways, I'll see you guys back on Monday with another event. See ya.